The secret to an amazing wardrobe is actually owning less. And there are some really easy ways to minimize the clutter in your closet and make it work much harder for you. So if you'd like to see what you need to do, then just keep watching. This year is all about change for me, and I'm moving house in 2 weeks. One of the things that I really have to do is minimize my closet. Now, the reason I have to do that is because the closet that I have at the moment is this big. The one that I'm moving to is this big, so it's much smaller, but I see this as a really good opportunity for me to cull some of the clothes that I'm not currently wearing regularly and just make the existing clothes that I'll hang on to work so much harder for me. There are a few methods that I use that I have employed over the years. They are foolproof, and I know that sometimes getting rid of clothes and moving them out and minimizing our closets isn't an easy task, but I promise you this video will make it seamless. Okay, first things first, what we do need to do is get everything out of our closets. Now that's easy for me because everything needs to come out because I'm moving, but it really is important just to get everything out because you are going to need to really look at every single piece and make a decision as to whether it stays or whether it goes. The easiest way to do this is to put things in piles. I always have a keep, donate, what else do I have? A keep, donate, sell pile, and the final pile, which I think is a really important one, is park. Now, we're always undecided when it comes to culling our wardrobe. That's okay, it's human nature not to be able to really quickly make a decision on pieces. So there are those pieces that for some reason we want to hold on to. Perhaps we haven't been able to make them work with pieces that we currently own. But it is really important to have a park pile. Now this pile doesn't belong in your closet, but it is there in case you decide that there's something that you would like to revisit or reintroduce back into your wardrobe. So I highly recommend having a pile that you park for a time. Now if you do park it for a time, say 3 months, 6 months, and you have survived without it, you haven't thought about those pieces, you haven't needed to incorporate any of them into your existing wardrobe, then the park pile becomes the donate or the trash pile. Okay, now disclaimer, when I do say trash here, I don't necessarily mean throw things out, but I do just mean that these are pieces that you are no longer going to own. What you do with them is up to you, of course. So preferably, it's a great idea to donate those pieces and to give them to Goodwill or pass them on to friends, not make more landfill. The next tip that I'd like to share is to be ruthless. Now, again, that's easy for me because I'm moving house. I have a really small closet in my new home, so it is perhaps a little easier for me to be ruthless, but I think we have to train ourselves to be a little ruthless sometimes too. I know this is a hard process for a lot of people, so think about your closet as prime real estate, and only the pieces that you are going to wear regularly, and regularly I mean every week or couple of weeks, they're the pieces that deserve that prime real estate in your closet. So it's only those pieces that really need to stay there, and they're the pieces that you need to hang on to. So think about and perhaps train yourself to being a little bit ruthless when it comes to making the decision to part with some of those pieces. And just remember that when you are being ruthless, there will be pieces that you come across that are perfectly great items of clothing. But if they're not right for you, chances are they're never going to be right for you. So you do need to be ruthless and move them out. If you're really struggling to part with certain pieces, then maybe it's a sign that you actually need to hang on to that item of clothing. Sometimes it's as simple as life just getting busy and we've strayed so far away from where our head was at when we did purchase that piece. But it does pay to ask yourself the question, why did I buy this piece in the first place? What did I intend to wear this with? If you can get yourself back to there, sometimes it helps you reinvigorate your passion for a piece, and it makes it easier for you to work that item into your existing wardrobe. So it means that it's one that you can hang on to. Now, in my opinion, style always trumps fashion, but most of us get caught in that trap of buying pieces because they're in fashion or they're trending, or we may see one of our friends wear them, but that isn't a good enough reason for it to stay sitting in our closet. If it doesn't work for you, regardless of how fashion forward or how trendy or how amazing that piece looks on someone else, it does mean that if it doesn't fit with your style, it's never going to work for you. So think about style and think about your own personal style when you're making decisions about what to keep and what to part with. Sometimes one of the best and easiest ways to minimize clutter in our closets is to put a self-imposed freeze on funds. So basically that just means stop shopping. Sometimes we get so many clothes in our closet that we still keep buying and buying pieces that we love, but the problem is that that just means that we end up with more and more and more pieces that we don't wear. So if you are in that situation at the moment where you do have a wardrobe full of clothes but nothing to wear, then have a freeze on funds for a time. Stop buying until you actually make sense of the wardrobe and the clothes that you already own. I definitely have a freeze on funds at the moment, but that's because I've bought a house and my budget is not going to stretch to buying any more clothes at the moment. So that's possibly a good thing for me as well. Sometimes with our wardrobes too, we just need to put the work in. Many of us, and I have talked about this in videos before, many of us just don't spend the time playing with our clothes and pulling together different outfits. So when you're going through the process of trying to minimize what you already own, you will need to invest a little bit of time. You will need to play in your wardrobe, and sometimes you do need to get inspiration. So look at Instagram, Pinterest, you guys know the drill, but look for some styling and fashion inspiration, and then go into your closet and see if you own any of those pieces, and you can look at different ways of pairing your pieces to create new outfits. But it will take a little bit of time, so don't expect to just go in there and not try things on and just quickly get rid of things. It does take a little time, but I tell you, it's really worth it, just investing that time to play and create outfits that you perhaps have never thought of before. Now this leads in really nicely to the next piece of advice that I think we sometimes need to really consider, and that is taking the time for this process. Now I know what it's like. I am super impatient, and when I get inspired to do something, I basically want it done immediately. But I think when it comes to parting with expensive pieces of clothing, now I'm not talking designer clothes, but anything that you've invested in has cost you money. So you really don't want to make rash decisions. Yes, you do need to be ruthless, but you don't want to make silly decisions. So I do think it's important to take your time and not rush the process. So it might mean spending one day putting things into piles and maybe giving it a couple of days. What I do find when I take a little bit of time like this, I end up swapping things from piles, and it just gives me that little bit of time to think about some of those initial decisions that I'm making. It also gives you that little bit of time to get inspired by fashion and looks that you think that you could create from some of the clothes that you already own. And I think also it just means that you are not faced with a crazy overwhelming task. And I know a lot of us, when this happens, we sort of rush to get to the finish line, and that's when we make some mistakes and part with pieces that we really shouldn't. So I do think it's important just to slow it down and just take our time. The other thing to consider is that we need to be realistic. There will be pieces in our wardrobe that we love and they are perfectly good, but they're not working for us at the moment. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to part with them and move them out, but what it does mean is if you want to keep them and hold on to them and for them to take pride of place in your wardrobe, I suggest that you try and create 3 outfits using that piece. That then, in my mind, means that that's a really integral piece in your closet, and it does deserve that space. It's also a really good exercise to just create some more outfits, and don't forget to take some photos of those outfits because they are super handy to just refer back to if you're having one of those I don't know what to wear days. And I have talked about this in videos in the past, but just save those photos, put them on your iPhone or your Samsung, whatever it is that you own, put them in a separate folder, and when you're needing a little bit of inspiration and it's directly from the clothes that you already own, just check out that album and you're good to go. The other advantage of having a park pile, which is the pile that I talked about earlier, is that it gives you the opportunity to experiment with less clothes in your wardrobe before you make the drastic decision to actually part with them. So it's a little bit like a trial period of living with less. So if you're really unsure about certain pieces, park them, live without them for a while, and then you'll know whether they deserve to be there or not. The other important thing we need to do is try our best to take the emotion out of the whole process. Now, you might think this sounds a bit ridiculous, but our clothing and fashion is and can be quite emotional. We have bought certain pieces to wear to special occasions, or they remind us of someone, or they've been gifted to us. So there's often emotion attached to the clothing that's hanging in our wardrobe, and often that is a really big reason why we have pieces and hang on to pieces for far too long. So it is important to take the emotion out of the process, however you can do that. Sometimes it's as simple as trawling through your photos to see if you've actually got a photo of yourself wearing that piece that you like, and then that's enough of a memory for you to keep. But just remember that it is an emotional exercise, removing things from your closet, but less really is more. The less you own, and the pieces that are hanging in your closet that all work well together, and they are pieces that you wear regularly, it will make dressing less stressful and far easier, I promise you. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love you to smash that like button. It means the world to me. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more. I've got some fab fashion content in the pipeline, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on it. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.
I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me